This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the challenges of running a water treatment business. In studio with us today is Richard Garcia, a water treatment expert and the owner of Superior Water Softeners. Richard, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate being back on the show. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's always good to have you here, man. Traveling in from Louisiana. Did you come in today or yesterday or what?
I came in Saturday, get some rest and visit my aunt who's in a nursing home.
Okay.
And so I come often just to be able to make sure I can visit her and then run my business at the same time.
Love it. I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for businesses who need help with administrative tasks such as appointment setting, management, data entry, and client communication.
And I am Heather Boehm, a certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we help overwhelmed and burnt out business owners take control of their business and time so they have more energy to do the things they love.
Wonderful. And I am Imad Gurgis, owner of Simply Bookkeeping, where we help small business owners understand their finances better on a monthly basis so that they can help scale their business and be in control of their business finances again and have less stress doing it.
You know, so Heather, when we did our warm-up, I was like, I've got to shout out. So I tend to drag my feet sometimes on things, and she had sent me this thing, hey, go sign up for this speaking thing. And I'm like, I was talking about this on the other show too. I was like, okay, I don't want to. I just put it off to the side or whatever. But when she talks about helping business owners actually do the things they're supposed to be doing, she's not kidding. So I want to say thank you publicly for staying on top of that. It doesn't go unnoticed or unappreciated. But sometimes we just, as business owners, we're busy. We got stuff going on. And we avoid some of the most important things at times. You know what I mean? Like bookkeeping, for example. I don't want to look at all that shit. So, but I appreciate it.
Marc, would you tell us your preconceived notions about the speaking engagement that you overcame?
Well, it's really about, is it worth my time, and are these the right people to hear my message? And I know we're going to get into that a little bit during this show as well. And it's kind of almost like a fog of war on, am I seeing this even properly? And that's why it's super good as an entrepreneur that you surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, because we're all going through the same, war and or the same struggles. And sometimes it's so obvious what's wrong with your business, but I'm not seeing what's wrong with my business. You know what I mean? So it's important to, if you don't have a coach, have a mentor, and have some friends that you play golf with or whatever, where you guys can just keep it real. So, but yeah.
I had one of those moments last week. I was hanging out in the office doing a one-on-one, and I started talking to Ed, who's also a leadership and business coach, and he brought something super obvious up. Like, I'm an Aggie. I go to A&M. He's like, oh, so you go to all the alumni networking events in town? I was like, no. He was like, what are you talking about? You have an untapped gold mine, and you're not doing any of it? And I was like, it just never occurred to me until right now, but that's a great idea. So sometimes you just never know.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to stay active out there. What about you, Imad? Any words of wisdom on that?
I totally agree. Just keeping it sharp and keeping your circle kind of where you are in your business as well. I mean, I was talking to a coach, but also a friend that gave me more advice on my business perspective and vision just last week, actually. And we thought about it. We got a chance to chit-chat about it, just brainstorm, pick each other's brains a little bit, and really helped me on clarity of my business in the direction. And I got a chance to really hone in on it. And then I got to share it with my team this week, bright and early Monday morning. So it was great. Just have those connections. Always share it with your business entrepreneurial friends.
All right, so a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms. Of course, social media is where a lot of the show ends up. So check out our video clips there on social media. You can get to everything easily by visiting our website, satalkradio.com. Now, a quick shout out to Daniel Gomez with Daniel Gomez Enterprises, a sponsor for the upcoming Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer on October 3rd. Daniel Gomez is an award-winning keynote speaker, business coach, executive coach, corporate trainer, and Podcast of the Year recipient who believes that to become the best, you must surround yourself with the best. We were just
Which
talking
is
about
just
that.
what we're talking about.
Daniel has empowered his clients to build epic success in their personal and professional lives, and his passion to elevate entrepreneurs to achieve their true potential through their training and coaching programs. Learn more about Daniel Gomez and his coaching and training programs by visiting the makings of a millionaire mind.com, just like it sounds. All right.
Nice.
Yep. So we got that event's going to be a 250 people event. Lots of folks, lots of business gets done there. Because that's what we're all about. I'm super excited about promoting. I think promoting is the fun part for me. Is talking about what's going on. So anyway, make sure you guys get there. You can get tickets easily by going to satalkradio.com. All right, Richard Garcia, welcome back to the show. I'm a huge fan of water. And good water, good drinking water, not drinking out of plastic bottles branded by somebody else. I would prefer to be drinking them out of your branded water right here on the podcast. And it's only $899 a show. No, I'm kidding. So that's
Wait, I'll be back.
It's an inside joke. But anyway, welcome back to the show. Building a business isn't easy. And there's different things that come at us within our particular industries. There's different struggles that we have. What are some of the things that, as you're building out your business, anything popping off the top that's like, this is a struggle that you're having right now with your business?
Well, yes. I mean, the bottom line is I kind of stumbled into the water treatment business. I was working for Time Warner Cable back in the day, doing door-to-door sales, and I needed a water softener. And somebody came to my door and wanted to charge me $8,000 for a water softener. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I lost all my appliances over the course of about 2 years in a brand new home from the hard water. And I went to go look for a water softener because I'm a touchy-feely kind of guy. It's like going to a car lot. I want to see what I'm going to buy. And I got goaded in or coached into working for one of these big-name water treatment companies. I ended up finding that I just couldn't work for them. The systems were breaking down. So I had to create my own shingle, and that's how I got started. And it's a really tough industry to actually become successful in because there's so many companies out there trying to charge a lot of money for systems that usually break down a couple of 3 years later.
Sounds like that would make it easier, though, if you've got a better product.
Well, at that point, I just thought I cared more about the water, so I was going to be able to put in better systems, but I was putting in the same technology that everybody else was putting in, and my system started breaking down. And it became a real mess. I almost had to get out of the industry because I was charging money and then coming back 2 years later, 3 years later, and having to charge $300, $400, $500 to fix something that I had just sold.
I know we've gotten into this on other shows, but just like close the loop for the listener who maybe this is the first time they're hearing you,
Right.
is what is the ultimate root of the problem there?
To me, what I discovered, and I believe it's pretty factual, is that internally, water softeners collect so much filth, and they're really not designed to clean themselves out. It's an ion exchange process, salt for rock, salt for rock. The entire time that it's cleaning the rock out of your water and then cleaning itself out with salt, it's collecting dirt and other contaminants that never get washed out. Those contaminants fester and grow a bacteria growth that's a low-grade bacteria and a film that clogs up everything inside of the water softener and the valve head.
Now, is this film what we feel, the slickness on the skin?
Right. Yeah, I was trained in the beginning, this is pre me starting my own company, to say that that's a normal feeling, that that is the way water softeners work. And actually that was the truth. But what they weren't giving me was the real truth, which was that film is a low-grade bacteria, which is called a biofilm. And a biofilm is physically harmful to some extent to our skin, our internal organs. It's not healthy for us. So
is that what breaks the system as well? Is it what causes malfunction in the system?
Yeah, it starts off as a clear film, and then it sticks on top of itself, and it's like building blocks. And eventually, the underlying film goes from clear to a yellow to a burnt orange to almost a blackish film that starts secreting out of the valve head, and it keeps the passageways from staying open, so your water treatment system can work correctly when it's trying to clean itself out.
So there's a couple goals when you're putting in a water softener that you want to address. Number one is the quality of the water that's in there, right? That remains. The setup of the system,
Right.
so that it can clean itself out.
Right.
And I know we talked about that already.
Yeah.
But we have to stay on top of the biofilm as well, which can accumulate in any system, and you have a treatment for that as well.
Right. Well, the key to our success is that when I found the problem, I went to look for solutions, and I found some PhDs in water that helped me understand why systems were breaking down. The primary reason for them to start to fail is that they collect dirt. Dirt does not belong forever at the bottom of your water softener. Dirt needs to be flushed out, eradicated, minimized, whatever, because dirt is the host of microorganisms. Microorganisms, they breed inside of a water treatment device and create that film. So we put in systems that flush dirt out regularly because dirt does not belong down there.
That's the structure. That's the way
Right.
you design the
Right,
system
right.
so that it can do that
Right,
effectively,
right.
which most systems are not designed to do that correctly.
Well, and everybody has access. Every company has access to it, but they don't sell it because it creates about another $500 to $700 more for a solution per household. So companies are wanting to sell on how much profit they can make instead of how well they can clean the water. And so we complemented that equipment by finding a product that sanitizes the inside of water softeners, valve heads, every orifice that water runs through the water softener system to minimize that film that multiplies and then starts breaking your system down.
That's the solution we're using in ours.
It's called
right now.
sanitizing solutions.
Right.
So it's a private labeled product that we put out.
Anybody can get that. They can put it in their existing systems, right? But ideally, you want to have a system, a water softener that from the ground up was built to actually get rid of the dirt, right? And then not collect this biofilm.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, I just wanted to kind of go back to the root of that and make sure that listeners understand, the basics of why this is important. But let's get on to the business side of things now,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Which is, I know you want to talk a little bit about some of the struggles and challenges that you're facing. What's the number one challenge that you're facing right now?
Our industry tries to make us look like we're just like everybody else. That we just sell a water softener, and anybody can sell you a water softener, and they position themselves to look bigger than us or give you better warranties than us. But in reality, that's not the case. We have built a solution, a water treatment solution that makes us or allows us to stand apart from 100% of the companies out there. We're not like any other company. I'm not going to say that we care more about the water, but to some extent we do. We care about the consumer. We want to educate the consumer. We want to make sure the consumer buys a good product. It's very important to us that at the end of the day, that our customer is going to come back to us for service or even purchasing a new system when they buy a new home.
So the old adage, and they say this, I was watching Shark Tank on my trip. I had a TV in my room, which I never do. But I was watching Shark Tank, and they say it over and over again if you watch it enough. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, then your company cannot flourish.
Right.
So you guys do it differently. You guys do it better. How are you getting the word out there outside of all these massive companies who have big marketing budgets and are able to just put up ads in front of everybody's faces when they log on to Google?
It's a great question, Heather. I have found for years I built the company on my back, one customer at a time. I did all the installs, I did all the marketing, I did all the financials, I did everything, and it was crazy. About a year and a half ago, I said that playbook has got to be thrown out. I mean, I just can't do that anymore. My body was breaking down doing all the work. I brought on a partner, and what we do now, instead of just going after one customer at a time at networking groups, which are important, we try to position ourselves inside of corporations. So maybe get into a human resources department that will allow us to present a product to all their employees at an employee discount. Or we get into realtor offices where there's 20 realtors, 30 realtors, 100, 1,000 realtors. We have a few of those. So we position ourselves so that we can go in and talk to the realtors or to the human resources departments that will allow us to do maybe little presentations. And we do a educational process, not a sales process. Sales and water treatment. If somebody's trying to sell you a water softener, run, because they're really coming after your money. That's my humble opinion. So we do mass presentation of education to the consumer.
Now, I love that. Oh, sorry, Ahmad, you want to go?
Go for it.
Okay, well, I'll give you a chance. So this is our first time co-hosting together. We interrupted each other. We
Sometimes
think
you gotta
along the
fight
same
for it,
line
right?
too.
It's like, yeah.
I would have given it up to you, but now I'm not. So I love the process. You honed in on the ideal type of person that's going to get you more bang for your buck, basically.
Right.
Tell me about the process of figuring that out, A, and then going and getting those relationships with a big corporation. Because I feel like when you hear it, people are like, oh yeah, just go like get a relationship with a massive real estate brokerage, but it's not that simple. So how did you go about getting that relationship?
It was hard to really face because it really had to do with my physical health. In the military, I had a really bad fall, and I had some serious injuries that I have been minimizing in my mind for years and years and years. And at the peak of my growth of my company, that was it. I hit peak, and then I started to drop because I could no longer do everything. I couldn't do the installs. I couldn't dig the trenches. I was begging for somebody to come on and help me. This is where I found my partner, William Robertson. I started realizing that my peak revenue was dropping. Every month it was dropping and dropping and dropping because I was going after the onesies and the twosies. And I knew what I needed to do, but I couldn't get in the right doors. I couldn't, a lot of times as you get older, people appreciate you a little bit more. When you're younger, they look at you and then, that's, again, my opinion. They look at you and say, well, he's a little young, maybe not him today. But as I got older and I started asking for the opportunities to go into these big doors, people started receiving me a little bit differently. And it's been a do not look back now. I mean, I'm doing presentations now for 30, 40, 50, 100 people at one time. We created a military program for veterans and military folks actively serving. And so we're mass producing that program. As a matter of fact, last night we were involved with the Limitless team for Keller Williams, Fernando Garcia. They put on a lot of programs, benefits for veterans. And last night they did the Missions baseball game. They invited a lot of veterans free. I was one of the sponsors. Superior Water Softeners was. And I routinely go to veteran breakfasts and meetings and present the program to veterans. It's a really nice program. We give back to veteran causes. We have 6 nonprofits that we donate $250 out of every opportunity that we get with a veteran to put a system in. You notice I didn't use the word sell. So every time a veteran selects us at the end of the program, we let them pick one of 6 nonprofits that are been vetted by us, and we send them a check for $250.
So it sounds like you're building a lot of value on the consumer side, and I get it because you've absolutely conveyed the value already, but I want to hear about the first big door that you went into. How did you find the person to reach out to, and what was the process of getting a hold of them before you could actually go and pitch I'm going to come in from an educational standpoint? That the first one's always the hardest, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times, the harder you work it, the harder it is to find the opportunity. And going back and forth from Louisiana, New Orleans, to San Antonio, running my business back and forth, I was trying to figure out whether I should buy another house. I had sold my 2 houses here before I found the woman of my dreams that I married and moved to New Orleans for. And I was trying to figure out the cost benefit. Amon, you can probably really respect this part. Should I buy a new home, or should I just go ahead and stay in hotels and Airbnbs, and I can write all that off because I'm actually staying at those places and not having to do internet and electricity and what have you, water. So on one occasion, I stayed at an Airbnb that Vicky Collier, a realtor for Keller Williams Legacy, her husband was managing. And when I was staying there, I didn't know she was a realtor. And so I'm staying there. They invited me to come out and have a drink with them one evening, and she took to me. And she was on the leadership team over at Legacy. And she said, we don't have a water softener company that is a preferred vendor. What do you think? I had been trying and trying and trying for years to get into one of those houses, one of those, I call them castles. Please excuse me, realtor groups, when I use that phrase. And the next thing I know, I'm the preferred vendor with Keller Williams Legacy. That's how I got into that first castle. And I wasn't pitching them. I wasn't going and knocking on that door. The Lord just blessed that opportunity for me to be in front of that realtor that day.
Is that a buy-in opportunity, right? It's like you pay for that opportunity to be that preferred folk.
Yeah.
And then what does that come with as far as the perks? Do you get to? How often do you get to go in, or what's the deal there?
I can go in daily if I want. Okay. I can go in there, drop off cards, drop off marketing materials, say hello. I can just go in and I go in and drop off, donuts or maybe some coffee. We get invited to all the functions. They have a barbecue. They had Flag Day not too long ago, and we can sponsor or not sponsor, but we get invited. And so, it is a buy-in.
Well, it's pay to play, and that's not unusual. And,
no,
and
in
there's
this
no
world,
negativity there.
Yeah,
either.
you're going to pay for it. I'm going to pay to do the onesies. I'm going to pay the gas. I'm going to pay the networking opportunities, buying a drink for somebody. I'm going to pay. But so I try to make my bang for my buck go a lot further. My audience is this big versus this big when I'm spending my marketing dollars.
Fantastic. Well, actually, Richard, I got a question for you because I know you briefly touched on this, and it's a huge point for you. So, in our business, we always hammer on educating the customer. So it sounds like that's something that you value a lot as well. So, in educating these groups and educating the individuals, how have you found that that's been very useful to you as well, and how do you kind of go about that?
That's a really great question. My philosophy is the more I talk, the more opportunity I have to lose. So I had an interview one time, a long time ago, when I was working I went to go on an interview for U.S. Long Distance, now Quest, I think, Long Distance. And when I was in the interview, I sat down, and there was a sign behind him that said, "The first one to speak loses." So he's interviewing me, and he asked me the $1 million question. What are you asking for? So I put out a dream number, and then I shut up. And he just looked at me. And then he finally said, "Okay, I give. How come you're not asking anything or saying anything?" I said, "Well, the answer is right behind you." So he looked back and he said,
"Oh, you're hired."
Well, he said, "You're the first one that's ever really applied that rule on me." He goes, so I got the job at the amount of money I was asking for. And then I was told, when you go out there, do not tell anybody what you're making, because you're going to be making about $15,000 more than anybody else. So how does this work for me? I don't represent my company to be a sales presentation company. We consult. My job is not to go make money to sell somebody something when I'm talking about water treatment. We go to educate folks. Mm-hmm. We give them the good, the bad, and the ugly about water treatment, and we even tell them our story about what we used to put in and how we failed miserably at trying to put in water treatment devices 17 years ago. And then I give them a little bit about what we do, and then I shut up. I let the customer start asking questions. and then I start answering, or we start answering their questions that are specific to their need because they're asking the questions.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because a lot of times, like you said, a lot of the customers actually won't know what's going on internally in those systems.
Right.
And to your knowledge and what you've experienced and know, unless you explain that or go forth and actually educate them, they're not going to have an idea or might end up with a water softener that's going to break down 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, people are literally extremely vulnerable when they're searching for a water treatment device. Companies who try to sell you a water treatment device are usually overpriced. Their warranties do not hold a lot of stock at the end of the day. Sometimes you're a week out, or maybe they never return your call when you call for service. I can't tell you how many calls we've gotten. We bought a water softener a year ago, and the company that we bought it from is not answering the phone to come service our equipment. I do a lot. I feel like a lawyer sometimes. I do a lot of pro bono work. I literally will go out and help the customer figure out whether the water softener isn't working, or maybe give them a courtesy service call on how to run their water treatment system. I mean, I kind of did a little bit of that for you, Mark. You had some concerns about your water treatment device. And my first stop was not to try to sell you anything, but to educate you and tell you what I felt was maybe going wrong with your system. And then I shut up and walked away.
Well, so did I. I
Giver's
shut up and I
game.
walked away. So both of us shut up and we walked away. All right, I mean, and then
Two masters.
We ended up getting that solution that you have. We are actually running that in our system. I went to add something to it. I don't know, it was a month ago or something. Jennifer's like, "Don't touch that. I've got everything on a specific schedule and whatever." Richard told me and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "All right." You know how it is when you have guy ears. Wah wah wah. I didn't hear anything.
Does she have that ruler? The nun ruler?
She's got. Oh. Is that the nun?
Okay, don't say you like it.
Okay, but Richard, I have a question because in that I heard that you start your presentations by telling people about how you failed when you first started.
Right.
And I found that people really tend to resonate with failure more than success, but most business owners don't lead with failure ever. It's like, I've got it all together. I'm good. We see this nice surface picture, and behind the scenes, who knows what's going on. There's probably not a more freaked out, messed up, crazy stuff going on behind the scenes population than business owners and entrepreneurs. What has been your experience with opening with failure?
I'm proud of it. Tell you the truth, I own it. I say almost in every presentation that I make, 17 years ago, we were just like everybody else. Our systems felt like everybody else's. I mean, we were struggling to make some type of income on new installations because we were so busy going back and having to fix our equipment that was failing all the time. And I tell potential new opportunities, you wouldn't have liked us 17 years ago because our systems were failing like everybody else's. You wouldn't have liked us. You wouldn't have bought from us again. I have homeowners. Man, this is great. The nicest part about my job, what I have done, I don't really consider this a job. I love what I do. I educate families. I protect families when it comes to their water. Here's the thing I love the most. I've seen 17 years ago a pregnant woman, family, they're getting ready to have a baby. We put in a water treatment system. They have the baby. I see them start kindergarten, start junior high. I've seen them graduate. I have families that have gone and sold that house, and kept that system in there, bought another house, bought a new system, bought another house, kept that system there. In other words, turned them into rentals, and then called us and bought another system. I have 4-time purchasers over the 17, 18 years that come back and hunt us down. You know, and they don't even ask for a presentation a lot of times. They call me up and say, "We need another system. When can you put it in?" What kind of job is that? That's not a job.
That's the ideal situation right
Well, it's
there.
even more
Speaks
ideal if you had
volume.
recurring revenue coming out every
Right,
month on
right,
that bad
right.
boy.
Yeah.
Just saying, or at least once a year.
I love my job.
But do you
I
get
can't-
recurring revenue out of it or no?
Oh yeah. We're reasonable. We have general service. and some people don't want to have a yearly service plan. And then we have a service plan where they'll never buy full price 10, 15 years later a new water softener from us. So they all the parts, all the sanitizing solution, even the labor to some extent is included in your service package for the year. You pay us so much money every year. When your system breaks down, you pay a deductible. Every system is different depending on the family size and the type of unit that we put in. At that period, I call it a win-win. You've had great service with labor included. When the system dies, and eventually it will die, the cost benefit of you having us do a full service facelift on the old equipment is not really there, because it's the service cost to rebuild one of our systems is a little bit expensive because it's just built better. But we go in and we offer them almost a 50% discount on purchasing a new system from us. It's a true win-win opportunity for the consumer, us, and it creates regular revenue for us.
Are you able to refurbish old units since they're built to last?
Yes, we can do that one time. After a period of time, water, if you look at the water coming out of your faucet, you'll see a waviness to it. It doesn't come straight out like if you're looking at a straw. It's just a straight line, right? So water is pressurized. So when your system is sitting there, the water pressure is stressing out the water tank. It's a fiberglass tank. Over so many years, the breathing of that water, the fluctuation of that water pressure starts to stretch components within a water softener. But I safely say that you can probably get at least 1.5 times use out of a system that's been in for a while from us. Our systems last a lot longer than most companies.
And how long would you say that is?
Well, on a family of 4 to 6, a lot of companies put in 8% crosslink resin, which will die in about maybe 4 to 6 years on a family of 4. We put in 10% crosslink resin. On a family of 4 to 6, we're getting, based on water usage, gallons of water, we're getting somewhere between 6 and 12 years of resin life.
6 to 12 years.
Yeah.
That's great.
And in a typical water softener units, if the resin goes, what's the solution? You got to buy a whole new system? Or what?
No, not with us. If you're on the service plan, you have, again, for the service side, you have a little bit of a deductible. And we come in and we do all the labor, no cost in the labor. You have a one-time hickey on the service side of it, and then we get you back in service.
Okay, and how do you know when the resin's gone?
Well, you will start, when resin is really truly dying because of age and chlorine attrition, you'll start getting yellowish water coming out of the water softener. Your toilet will show yellow water. Your bathtub might show a little bit of yellow water. If you run a toilet or not a toilet, but a basin faucet cold water or a bathtub cold water, it'll clear up after a few minutes because the discoloration settles down at the bottom of your mineral tank. So if that starts happening regularly, that means for the most part your resin is probably dead or dying to a significant level. The other thing is that people do not pay attention to the age of their water softener, especially if they have 4 people in the house, 6 people in the house. When resin dies, please excuse the description, the dead resin floats inside of the mineral tank when water is not running, like dead fish. Okay, when you turn on your water, it starts to cause the dead resin to drop down, to be sucked down, because your water returning into the home when it's being cleaned comes out of the bottom and goes up. And so when this dead resin comes down, it suffocates the lower distributor and will crack it sometimes because of the water pressure and that dead resin just suffocating, like trying to breathe air when you can't breathe. A lot of people sometimes have that situation. It'll crack the lower distributor, and all that resin in a lot of systems that have pea gravel or garnet down at the bottom of the water softener, and this will resonate with a lot of people out there, that pea gravel, garnet, and resin and carbon will make it into all the lines in the house, and it'll shut the water off everywhere. And it's a nightmare to clean out the material from older technology water softeners that are sold regularly, even today. 1950s technology for $8,000. How about that? We don't do that. We sell today's modern technology at a reasonable cost.
So here's a question I've been talking to a lot of people about lately, just on a business coaching perspective, because as business owners, if you want to be more of a owner and an investor, you got to know your exit strategy. So what is your exit strategy? How big do you want this to go, to scale, to be? And how long are you going to be doing it for?
I've actually developed an exit strategy a long time ago. I knew that my body was not going to be able to keep up this mantra for forever. So I hired William. He's what I call my Batman. I'm Bruce Wayne. So, and we joke about this. You know, I'm kind of the brains. Not that he doesn't have a good brain and he doesn't know how to run the business. He does. He's excellent at it. So we're building a team around William. He runs the operation. He basically runs the entire business. I just come in here, come back and forth to do marketing events, training sessions. Sometimes I do some sales I don't like using that word. Some consulting with customer opportunities. But really, he is going to keep the company running. I think our job is never going to end because my industry is very aggressive in trying to sell bad product at a hefty price. It's embarrassing to me what my industry does a lot of times. Not all of them, but for the most part, I would say there's more consumers that get taken advantage of, especially military folks, by these high-priced water treatment systems or companies selling systems that are not worthy of the price.
So
I think a couple of good points to make is that, first of all, we buy a water softener system. I don't think we're educated on how long it's going to last.
Right.
We assume that it's going to go as long as my mortgage, right? Should last 30 years. And we don't know that there needs to be an annual service done to it. These are two big things that I've seen.
Recommended.
Right? Well, yeah, recommended. Like our oil is recommended to be changed every 7,000 miles or whatever it is, right? It's like there's some basic education there that I think the consumers need to be really keen on, right, to help their systems last long term. But yeah, I think, Imad, you're kind of nodding your head over there. Do you own your own house?
I don't. No, not yet.
Hey, Heather, you own your own house?
I do, and I don't have a water softener, thank goodness. After the last episode, you guys were all talking, and I was like, I'm really glad I don't have a water softener yet.
You need to call us.
I know I do need to call you.
So what's holding you back from a water softener?
We're working on paying down debt right now. That's the priority.
Yeah, I remember, there's quite a few things changed actually in the house after we got a water softener that I noticed. Like the faucets spraying correctly, and just the buildup. And I was worried about long-term effect on pipes and stuff like that, but I don't really know, right? I mean, you don't see it. It's hidden behind the walls. Right. If there's a problem, I guess it'll blow up on me and I have to call a plumber to come clean out and then...
No, you call us.
Restoration and everything else, right?
Call us first. We can clean out most of the issues that when water softener erupts, we can take care of just about 95%. Right.
I'm talking before that, though,
I got you.
Wearing out pipes and stuff like that. So I knew that might be an issue. But yeah, so that's why I've really enjoyed our conversations, to figure out that it's how you bring the components together, the quality of the components, but it's also making sure you address that dirt accumulation issue so that things can flush out properly. And then you have the solution on top of that, which really helps kill that. So it's like a layered approach to having a great water system.
Well, actually, I was going to say, too, the value of the water softener. I know we probably didn't touch too much on that, too, but so I live in an apartment complex, and to my knowledge, they can't have a water softener unless it's on the entire building itself. But I've been in homes where they do have a water softener, and the difference is night and day. So some of the benefits on your skin, health, like you were saying, well, can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so when I got into the industry back in 2007, the water hardness per gallon of water was considered to be somewhere between 18 and 23 grains of rock per gallon of water, literally little granules of rock in the water. Over time, SAWS, San Antonio Water Systems, has created strategic contracts with the Carrizo Springs Aquifer and some other places, where we distribute a lot of our excessive rainwater into these other locations, and their hardness is a lot lower. So it's come down now. The range can be either 0 grain hard to about maybe 13, 12 grain hard water in San Antonio. But back in the day, if you were to crunch the numbers on the EPA standard of how many gallons of water per person is used in household, it was said to be that you would be passing through your home, your appliances, your clothes, and your body somewhere between 24 and 26 pounds of rock per year. And I mean rock. So the value in having a water softener is if you have a really great system that's going to give you good, consistent quality water over years, you're going to save your appliances, save on your appliances going out. Not to say that you won't have problems, but you'll save on soaps, lotions, and cleansers. A lot of companies want to tally up this number and beef it up when they're interviewing you. We don't use this game, but they want to say that you save $250 a month in soaps, lotions, and cleansers to maintain your clothes, your home, and your body. I used to play that game when I was trained to sell for these other companies. But you're going to save some substantial money on soaps, lotions, and cleansers. It's all based on how much water you use and how much product you actually use. For instance, if you don't have a water softener, that little cup that you use to wash your clothes, you're going to use about that much detergent, about 2 inches worth of detergent, liquid. If you have a water softener, you're going to reduce that 2 inches down to about a 1/4 inch of liquid detergent. So that big jug that you get from Costco or Sam's is going to last you for 3 or 4 months, and just based on family and water usage. So that's how you can multiply savings when you have a water treatment device. Just a couple of the ways.
Yeah, it's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And so you got if you have a water dispenser in your refrigerator, and of course you have your dishwasher, those are two things that are affected by it as well, right? So just they get clogged up, they crap out on you or whatever.
Now, what about, so that's on appliances, and obviously there's benefits to cooking. I mean, you can now use water that's directly like tap water almost, or still recommended normal water that's brought in. Yeah,
again, my industry likes to put a lot of specialty names on the word water treatment. So they, instead of saying water softener, they'll call it a conditioner. Or if you have a whole house water treatment system, which is carbon and resin, they'll call it a conditioner, or they'll call it a whole house water treatment filtration system. The problem is you just don't, how to say this without sounding ugly. If you're not talking to the right person, the right company who really cares about what they're selling and how they're providing water treatment services to you, you'll find, like for us, in our systems, we have a resin bed, a double stack tank, so you have a mid-plate resin for a family of 4 to 6, and then 1 cubic foot of carbon that will filter your water out for a lot of organics, volatile organic compounds to a certain extent. It'll give you spring water quality bottled water that you would buy at the store. Okay. Other companies who say, well, we're going to sell you a conditioner that will be considered a whole house water treatment system. They are not going to put a 1 cubic foot resin or carbon bed in the system. They're going to put a sack of carbon in your system, which is not going to give you very much coverage at all. And they say now we're going to help protect your resin from chlorine attrition. So it's just a matter of who you're going to trust to pitch you, I hate to say that, but pitch you a water treatment solution and then gain your confidence to say yes, and then they put in something that's not very effective or a true measure of a great quality product.
So speaking of your competition, because we touched on that more in the last time I was on the episode, and we haven't as much here.
Right.
I'm reading a book, 5 Steps Ahead. It's by the guy that created Valuetainment on YouTube. And when he was starting out, started an insurance company. And he started his insurance company, had like 150 something agents, and immediately he got sued by a bigger insurance company, just superfluous suing, trying to get him out of business because they had the money to do it and they didn't want the competition. And that's business, right? You try to take care of the competition, especially one that's going to threaten the very industry. So how have you seen that come up, especially since you're doing things so differently than the rest of the industry?
Oh yeah. I used to have companies come by. When I started the company, I had a brick and mortar location. This is 2008 when the industry or our economy was getting ready to tank. We had that recession in 2008. I ended up luckily being able to get out of my lease because the property manager thought that I was going out of business because we really were all out in the field all the time. So he gave me an out. And I wasn't asking for an out. I wasn't really hurting. But he gave me an out, and I ended up going and cleaning out my entire garage in my home and turning it into a water treatment office or back room where we process and worked on our reverse osmosis systems and what have you. And the competition would come and park right outside my house and take pictures of where I officed out of and use that picture to show to potential customers, would you buy a system from this guy? Look where he offices out of. I mean, he's selling you something out of the inside of his garage. Well, that was the truth. However, I was selling a far better product than they were selling. And so there was no difference in us being there was no equal. We were far superior water softeners. So we were far superior in our solution, but they were just really ridiculing us in home and making customers feel like we were selling a Ford Pinto and they were selling a Mercedes-Benz.
How did you overcome that?
It was tough. I mean, I was 100% closer. I hate to say that. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I've said that before in one of the other shows here. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I was 100% closer until I realized what water softeners or water treatment devices were actually doing internally, how they were performing, what they were leaving behind internally. So once I realized that my ice was contaminated, meaning I can sell anything. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Eskimo doesn't need ice, but I can sell it to him. When I realized that my ice was tainted, my closing ratio went down underneath 50%. If I went out and sold 10 systems or had an opportunity to do 10 presentations, I literally spilled my guts. I told them exactly how they worked, told them how I was overcoming this. My industry made people feel I was a scaremonger. And I was a salmon, the single salmon swimming upstream, telling the truth, and the rest of the industry was going downhill, and they were closing everybody because they were really selling systems based off of price, a brochure, and a warranty statement, not on clean water.
So have you ever seen, what's that movie where the guy's like interviewing and he's like, sell me this pen? What movie is that?
Is that Wolf of Wall Street?
Is that Wolf of Wall Street?
I think it might have been.
Could you do that?
And describe it.
Like, okay, so in Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio is sitting across from, what's his name, Matthew McConaughey. Mm-hmm. And Matthew McConaughey is this big, like, financial guy, and Leonardo DiCaprio's nobody. And so he takes a pen and he, like, puts it across the table and he goes, sell me this pen. I don't know if that's it, because that doesn't sound familiar. But anyway, he says, sell me this pen. And so, like, Leonardo DiCaprio has to sell him the pen, even though it's his pen, right? Grant Cardone does that stuff, too. But could you do that? Like, take the mint and sell us the mint?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, so if I had a tactic, please excuse me, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, it's that when I finish my presentation, I shut up. I start packing all my little information tools, start putting them inside of my case. I close up my laptop, put it inside of my case, and I start to say goodbye. I never asked for the business.
Can you demonstrate it for us? Because I think that would be really, A, fun, and B, very valuable to our listeners who are all business
Depending
owners.
on how long it takes.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't take very long. Let's say that,
Like,
that
so-
I just did a presentation here.
Sell us the mint, please, Richard.
So I am doing a presentation. I show them brochures. I have a lot of industry or even researched articles on what's in the water.
Can you just make it up about the mint?
Yeah. So our system,
Our mint.
Our
This
mint.
our mint, tastes better than any other mint out there. And the reason it tastes better than any other mint is because it's designed to clean your breath better than anybody else's mint out there. When everything is said and done, you'll be able to talk to anybody for a longer period of time without you worrying about your coffee breath. Who wants to talk to somebody who is going to have coffee breath coming back at them? Our mint is guaranteed to make sure that you don't have that embarrassing moment. So this is going to cost you $1.99. And if you want it, all you have to do is let me know, because my presentation on this matter is now ended, and I'm going to leave it up to you to decide to let me know whether you want to buy that mint. And I thank you for your time.
Well, he focused on the features, right,
would-
rather than the like the benefits as opposed to the features. Sorry, it's round, right? It'll fit in your mouth. These are things people don't care about.
I like
right?
that. Overcoming the coffee breath for hours and just keep it. That was so good. That was so polished too, and he just came up with that off the top of
I
his
was
head.
waiting for him to
stumble.
mess it up there, but yeah,
No.
he stayed on the benefits of the mint.
Well, the benefit of this mint it's to clean your breath.
Yeah,
So when you asked me, Heather, to do that, I thought
he didn't say it tastes great. I would have thrown the taste in there. Well, this thing tastes really good. It's hard not to want to chew it up and
Yeah,
swallow
he
it.
sold them the end destination instead of the airplane ride.
Exactly. Which
But
is
you
what
want to know
people-
why I didn't do that? Because in the time that I thought, it took me about 5-7 seconds.
Yeah.
In the time that I thought what the challenge was, I put this in relationship to what I have to overcome selling my product. And so my industry wants everybody to believe that their water is going to taste better, it's going to feel better, and it's going to work better within their equipment. And I know that's not true. So when I looked at this mint, I looked at the end benefit. What is the end benefit for this mint to the customer going to be?
It's all about the bad breath, apparently.
Well, in this
And don't worry,
circumstance,
I
yeah,
can
there's
tell you
lots.
didn't have coffee today.
I didn't.
But I did.
No, I think that's so good because sometimes those are like fundamental sales skills that I think some business owners don't get. They don't realize it, or they go straight from zero to owning the business and have to figure out sales along the way without realizing that skills is it's a skill set and it's a set of ideas. It's psychology. And by like what we were talking about, if I told you, hey, do you want to go on a trip? You're going to sit on an uncomfortable chair with a little tiny TV that you can't plug your headphones into, but you know what? It's going to take you to Hawaii. Would you sign up for that trip versus
Probably
being
not.
like, do you want to go on a trip to Hawaii? We're going to go hiking and see the most beautiful waterfalls in the world. We'll have dinner on the top of a mountain overlooking a beach, and whales are going to be swimming there. And then we'll go for a swim afterward. And all you have to do is ride on an airplane for 7 hours. That's an uncomfortable ride.
Done, I'm gone.
And I think something else too that you touched on was people's need, not their wants. Why do they need this mint? It's so that they can have conversations to be able to close other deals or have conversations with their friends and so forth. That's a need. You can't do without that mint. Unless you have this mint,
Yeah.
you couldn't talk to me and have this conversation right now.
Especially if you're selling to people that are going to be doing, like, if you're a salesman and you're going to be talking to a lot of people, you need a mint.
And please notice that Ahmad has a mint that he grabbed
And now
now.
I'm keeping it.
He's
because
keeping
I've
it 'cause
got
of his coffee
so
breath.
let me ask you a question and see how well y'all listen to me. What is the one thing I did not do with this mint?
You didn't put it in your mouth.
No,
You didn't sell it to Mark.
I didn't pressurize
No.
or pressure the customer into wanting to have this mint. I didn't force it down inside of his mouth. I actually talked about the benefit of the mint, and I made the customer want to put it in its mouth. his or her mouth. The one thing customers do not want to do in any product that you're trying to present for sale or to make money as a business owner or as an individual that's got to feed their family, if you're pressuring somebody to buy your product, the likelihood of you being a good closer, and I hate using that term because I'm not a closer, but if you're having to make an income based on sales, if you're really trying to push the issue so that you can make a buck, you're not going to be very good at your job. People nowadays understand pressuring.
Pressured
I think
sales. Right?
pressurized sales, yeah.
Yeah, they realize it, and they don't want you anywhere near them. I don't like hanging out with people that are selling.
Well,
Yeah,
I would
coffee is
agree.
for closers is no longer it.
Right. And no one really wants to be sold
Right.
either. They just feel like they're not a part of the solution anymore. They've just
They're a
fallen
victim.
into the
They're a victim of the process rather than the the beneficiary of the process.
Yeah, these days
Well,
sales.
I put that on a cup. I like that. A victim of the process instead of the beneficiary.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something about your building. You know why I like your building? Not because of this. When I come into your building and I go to use your restroom, your facilities, when I go wash my hands, you have shout packages if I have a stain. You have teeth pickers if I have something in my teeth, I can clean my teeth. You have Q-tips. When I come into this building, I go to the bathroom, man. I love coming to this place because I have options in there for me to. It's not use a restroom, wash my hands, and walk out. There's stuff in there for if I need something, I go to your restroom.
That's all,
Man,
Jim.
I'm going to send this to Jim because he is going to be tickled pink because he literally thinks about that when he created this
Well,
space.
you tell Jim I took a couple of things and put them in my pocket because I said I'm going to need that today. Yeah.
He'll love it. I mean, he put so much care into this space.
There you go.
And it shows.
All right, well, we do have to wrap up. So, Richard, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can look us up at superiorwatersofteners.com or swsofteners.com or 210-792-0962. And, I answer the phone a lot, but William is the guy that's really going to show up. So, and he's great. You'll love him.
All right. Thanks again, man. I appreciate you coming in yet for the third time, I think it is.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I need a room here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, especially if it's decked out like this. This would be a great place
I feel
to
like you
sleep,
could
I
have
think.
an entire TikTok thing on just
Congratulations.
selling stuff.
Thank you, Richard.
Welcome
It was-
to the team. You did well.
Love it. Thank you.
You did well. So
Fantastic.
you just need to make sure that Heather over there doesn't like walk on you.
Who knew?
Yeah, she's a little animal over there. Gosh.
You know, I like to ask questions.
And Mark, thank you very much for having me back on. I really
You bet.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out the latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. Good job, Imad.
Thanks
See you
again,
on the
Mark.
next one.
See ya.
I love being on
Have a good week, guys.